Meet Seichi Haragi, the guy who started as your average overweight loser. But then, he eats a magical fruit that's so overpowered it makes protein shakes look like expired milk. Next thing you know, bam, he's shredded, overpowered, and somehow attracting a lineup of a dozen girls so stunning they make modeling agencies look like budget cosplay. Officially, the anime opens in a classroom, and just in case you can't see him, the protagonist is that fat, ugly dude over there who smells like a deceased animal. Because of his size and stench, guys always pick on him and beat him into a round ball. Out of nowhere came a voice from the speaker, saying that it was God, telling the whole class to buckle up their seats, because they will soon be teleported to another universe and will all receive special abilities. Since Seichi has no talents, when powers were bestowed on the others, he got nada. They laughed at him, kicked him aside, and all got isekai'd to the new world. Apparently, God, in his infinite mercy, had mercy on Seichi and tossed into a strange forest with a parting gift, a very low, budget, slightly useless special skill. After 5 days of living in the first, Seichi's stomach is emptier than a black hole. His only sustenance has been the breakfast he had back on Earth, and now he's eyeing a caterpillar like it's a rare steak. Just as he's about to make the bug his dinner, 2 fruits roll his way. It was just like God saying, chop rice, chop rice. Curious, he appraises them and discovers they're called the fruits of evolution. With nothing to lose, he quickly shoves down on one, thinking to himself that, what's the worst that could happen? Moments later, a voice announces the fruit's effects are kicking in. Seichi feels nothing at first, but then he stumbles across a group of high-level monkeys. They're hoarding evolution fruits and top-notch healing potions. Seichi channels his inner stealth ninja, waits for the perfect moment, and snatches the loot. Meanwhile, back at the others who got isekai'd, Shia, Kenji, Mayu, and Kazuki are worried sick about him. Seichi was always the oddball, and now he's gone missing in this strange new world. Back in the jungle, Seichi is busy trying to survive by eating whatever doesn't try to eat him first. One unlucky day, he snacks on some suspicious mushrooms that paralyze him on the spot. As luck runs out a little more, he's ambushed by a monkey that smacks him hard. Just as it's about to finish him off, the monkey gets a whiff of Seichi's stench, which is so bad it could have ended World War II. The monkey moves on to the afterlife, leaving Seichi with its loot and a bizarre new ability. He can now talk to monkeys. That's when the fruit of evolution decides to show its true colors. Seichi is hit with unbearable pain as his body morphs. He becomes a taller, leaner, and slightly less hideous beast, but his level was still stuck at 1. To top it off, he learns he has to endure this painful evolution process 9 more times. Over the next 5 months, Seichi grows through battles, his stats skyrocketing with each fight. Seichi feels like he's finally making progress, until the 9th evolution hits him like Mick Tyson was using him as a punching bag. Now, there's just 1 more to go. But before he can relax, a gang of clever monkeys surrounds a massive pink gorilla steps forward. The gorilla challenged Seichi. The fight was on and Seichi dodged her first punch, only to notice the gorilla blushing. That's when it dawns on him. This isn't just a fight, it's a courtship ritual. The pink gorilla's name is Saria, and she's completely smitten. Just as it seems he's doomed, he pulls out his secret weapon, his bad body smell. But instead of knocking Saria out, it seals the deal for her. She's head over heels and pops the question right then and there. Before Seichi can process what's happening, Saria sweeps him up, declaring him her mate for life. Saria carries Seichi to her treehouse, still smitten with him despite his awkwardness. She cooks for him, and while he's skeptical at first, the meal blows his mind. Turns out, gorilla cuisine isn't half bad. She even makes him new clothes, all while gushing about how perfect he'd be as her husband. Seichi tries to convince her that a male gorilla, but Saria's got her heart set on him. He's just looking for a way to escape. The next day, Saria takes Seichi fishing. While she's busy, he sees his chance to make a break for it. However, his plan derails when he spots a giant spider. He freezes, but Saria takes it down like it's nothing. Her sheer strength leaves him blushing. Despite himself, he's starting to feel something for her, though he won't admit it. Later, Saria tells Seichi about her plans to gather more fruits of evolution for her future husband. Seichi confesses that he already ate them. Instead of being angry, she smiles and says they're practically married now. Seichi tries to deny it, but Saria is unfazed. When she goes hunting, Seichi sees another chance to run. But as he dashes away, she catches him and warns him not to head toward a nearby cave. Ignoring her, he bolts straight in. Inside the cave, Seichi is met by an ominous aura. He stumbles upon a skeletal figure sitting on a throne, Demon Lord Xenos. The demon is unimpressed by much of a lowly worm Seichi is. He attacks, but Saria arrives just in time, stepping in front of Xenos' sword and taking the blow to protect Seichi. As she collapses, she thanks him for not being afraid of her. Seichi is devastated, holding her as tears stream down his face. Xenos mocks their bond. calling it absurd. Saria, despite her pain, is just happy to have loved and been loved. Overwhelmed by grief and rage, Seiichi summons the magic sword he earned from the wolf. Fueled by his emotions, he faces Xenos, determined to avenge Saria. The battle is fierce, and just as Xenos is about to land a fatal blow, Saria begins to glow. Seiichi uses the moment to strike, delivering a final blow that destroys Xenos. The Demon Lord thanks Seiichi for reminding him of love's power. As Xenos fades, a mysterious woman appears by his side, and he vows to take care of her in the afterlife. Meanwhile, Saria's glowing intensity intensifies, and to Seiichi's shock, she transforms. Standing before him is a stunning human version of Saria. She asks if he recognizes her, and Seiichi, still in awe, realizes it's truly her. The two explore the Demon Lord's loot, discovering a book that reveals Xenos' tragic backstory. Once a nobleman, he was cursed by an emperor, turning him into a monster. As Seiichi reads, he gains Xenos' skills and items. Then, a voice announces Seiichi's final evolution. The process is agonizing, but he emerges even more handsome and powerful than before. Saria is thrilled, and Seiichi suggests they leave the forest and travel the world together. She happily agrees. Before they can go, a tiny sheep named Mr. Sheep appears. Introducing himself as the dungeon administrator, he rewards them with a Fruit of Evolution cultivation set and a travel kit. He even changes Saria's outfit into a stunning dress that emphasizes her beauty and gives Seiichi a sturdy helmet. With a wave of his hoof, Mr. Sheep teleports them out of the forest, setting the stage for their next adventure. As Seiichi and Saria step out, they come across a level 88 slime. Seiichi, now a powerhouse, takes it down with a single swing of his sword, leaving Saria thoroughly impressed. The loot includes a pair of boots, which Seiichi hands to Saria. The sight of a gorilla-turned-girl in boots is enough to spark a laugh, even as Seiichi's helmet suddenly morphs into a glowing robe. A note from Mr. Sheep explains that Seiichi's evolution is pushing him beyond humanity, inching him closer to monstrous power. They finally arrive at the royal capital. At the gate, the guard demands their ID cards, but since they don't have any, they're asked to touch a gem of truth. Luckily, they pass the check. The guard, Claude, warns Seiichi to steer clear of the guild, but Seiichi heads there anyway. When he peeks inside, he sees a wild scene. A woman whipping a rotund man who seems far too thrilled. As if that weren't enough, she pours what looks like hot sauce on him. Before Seiichi can process the chaos, a towering, nearly naked man named Gassel introduces himself as the guild master. He drags Seiichi and Saria inside, insisting they join. The receptionist, Aris, who was just in dominatrix mode moments ago, now appears as a cheerful and innocent young woman. Saria encourages Seiichi to register with the guild, hoping to find their friends Shia, Kenji, Mayu, and Kazuki. While registering, some shady guys barge in and whisk Seiichi away to meet their boss. The boss, clearly smitten with Seiichi's upgraded looks, strips down faster than a magical transformation, making his intentions hilariously clear. Seiichi bolts from the scene, running back to the guild at lightning speed, leaving the boss confused and disappointed. At the guild, Gassel and Eris can't stop laughing at Seiichi's wild ordeal. Saria convinces Seiichi to take an adventurer test, and they're assigned to an A-rank adventurer named Artoria, also known as the Calamity Queen. Artoria's gloomy demeanor suggests she'd rather be anywhere else, but after some persuasion from Gassel, she reluctantly agrees to work with them. The first test takes them to a church where they help nuns and orphans. Saria eagerly volunteers, while Artoria takes Seiichi to heal a child's scraped knee. Things take a turn when a pile of wood collapses nearby. Artoria uses her magic to shield the child, but Seiichi feels useless at the moment. Next, they head to a demolition site. Seiichi, unaware of his own strength, taps a wall, causing the entire building to crumble. Artoria scolds him, worried about the safety of everyone around him, especially Saria. She mutters about her calamity curse, convinced it's responsible for the chaos. Meanwhile, back at the academy, the commander observes the students' training. He vents his frustration to his subordinate, grumbling about the risks of involving kids in the war against monsters. Back with Seiichi and Artoria, their final task is to walk a noblewoman's dog. This isn't just any dog, it's a massive beast that towers over Seiichi. He struggles to control the dog, while the noblewoman Adriana teases Artoria, suggesting that Saichi's presence has brought a rare smile to her face. At the end of the day, Seiichi and Saria return to the guild, but they have nowhere to stay. Gassel, in a questionable display of generosity, pulls a bag of coins from an unusual location to help. Artoria surprises everyone by inviting Seiichi and Saria to stay at her place, leaving them both stunned and grateful. The morning kicks off with Artoria dragging Seiichi and Saria out for another test, this time to gather medicinal herbs. Before she can finish explaining, Seiichi bolts into the woods with Saria right behind him. Saria, with her gorilla instincts, quickly finds the herbs. Seiichi, on the other hand, only manages to collect a pile of mushrooms. the same ones that knocked him out last time. Artoria isn't impressed and sends him back into the forest to find the right herbs. In the woods, Seiichi stumbles upon 3 demons huddled together, looking suspicious. He approaches them and asks about the herbs. The demons, startled by his approach and misunderstanding his intentions, panic. Convinced he's onto their plan, they summon a giant troll to deal with him. Seiichi, unfazed, absorbs the troll's attack with a strength spell and scares it off. The demons flee, much like Team Rocket, while Seiichi returns with a random assortment of items. Artoria scolds him for not bringing the correct herbs and hands over her own collection so they can move to the next task. Meanwhile, the demons report back to their boss, a terrifying demon lord who radiates authority. She questions their meddling in the human world. They nervously explain their plan to teleport humans to the Black Dragon God's dungeon. She praises their ingenuity, but decides they need punishment for breaking rules. Back with Seiichi and Saria, they meet Claude, who advises them to stick close to Artoria. Despite her rough demeanor, he assures them she has a soft heart. Artoria leads the group to an open field for slime hunting practice. Just as Seiichi's about to strike one down, it vanishes into thin air. Artoria inspects the area and discovers teleportation spells scattered around. She decides to call off the training, but before they can leave, Artoria steps on a spell, triggering a teleportation that drags all 3 into a dungeon. Inside the dungeon, Artoria gives Seiichi a guide stone, explaining it can reunite separate party members. Moments later, she triggers a trap that separates them with a thick stone wall. Seiichi and Saria try using the guide stone, but it crashes into the wall. Desperate, Seiichi punches the barrier, but it's tougher than anything he's faced. Meanwhile, Artoria battles ferocious monsters, including a mummy she cuts down with ease despite being thrown into walls. On the other side, Seiichi and Saria encounter a talking treasure chest that turns hostile. Seiichi douses it with water magic, defeating it and claiming loot, including a mysterious book. Saria's right side starts glowing red, signaling danger. Worried about Artoria, Seiichi channels his frustration into punching through the walls, ignoring the pain. Artoria stumbles into a massive chamber and is greeted by the Black Dragon, the most fearsome creature in the Demon Lord's army. Injured but unyielding, Artoria taps into her calamity powers and fights fiercely. The Black Dragon, impressed by her determination, counters with overwhelming strength. It impales her with its tail, leaving her gravely injured. As the dragon prepares to finish her with a fiery breath, Seiichi and Saria arrive just in time. Seiichi uses his enchanted robe to block the fire, shielding Artoria from the attack. As Artoria opens her eyes, she sees the blazing fire of the dragon surrounding them. Seiichi's robe is completely burnt, and she looks stunned. He and Saria explain how they broke through walls like maniacs to reach her. Their grand entrance? Right on top of the dragon with some heavy rocks crashing onto its back, only making the creature angrier. The dragon roars in fury as Seiichi faces it, pulling out 2 swords that look more like toothpicks than weapons. Undeterred, he charges forward, evading every attack with quick movements. For a moment, it seems like he's winning, but the dragon takes one hard look at Seiichi's less than handsome face and decides it's time to stop messing around. It strikes him midair with its tail, sending him flying. Seiichi summons a water sword just as the dragon is about to unleash a devastating power blast, flushing the attack away like yesterday's garbage. He charges again, but this time, the dragon uses its paralyzing skill. Seiichi, now immune to it, counters with a flash step. While the dragon gathers energy for a massive blast, Seiichi jumps onto its back and delivers a decisive blow, ending the beast's fiery reign. As the battle ends, the group turns their attention to the loot. Saria suddenly powers up, gaining spatial magic that allows them to teleport out of the dungeon. Seiichi also gets a slick new coat and picks up the dragon's book. Reading it, he learns the dragon was once a protector of mankind. Humans, driven by greed, betrayed and imprisoned the dragon to exploit its powerful materials. The Demon Lord had saved the dragon, but locked it in the dungeon. The story brings tears to their eyes, but before they can process it, there's a small explosion. It's the dungeon master, a clueless sheep, leaving a farewell note saying he's off on vacation. He adds that with each of Seiichi's upgrades, he's losing more of his humanity. Ignoring the cryptic message, Seiichi teleports them to the city. Artoria wakes up in his arms and, upon seeing his face, screams for him to put her down. Too weak to walk, she begrudgingly lets him carry her. At the guild, they meet Gassel and the receptionist, who have been searching for them. Touched by their concern, Artoria shows her stats, revealing her staggering 2 million negative luck. Apologizing for the trouble, she's moved when Seiichi, in his usual clumsy way, calls her a queen of calamity, with a knack for making good friends. Blushing, she runs off in embarrassment, while Seiichi follows her like a loyal puppy. In the Demon Kingdom, the 3 bumbling demons are enjoying a casino game, marveling at the ingenuity of humans. Their leader, a stunning demon lord, interrupts with grave news. The dragon has been slain, Shocked, they wonder which humans could have done such a thing. Back on the surface, Seiichi encounters Adriana, whose striking figure nearly makes him trip over his words. She tells Seiichi to keep making Artoria happy, clearly hinting at something deeper. Seiichi, still oblivious, agrees and sets off to find Artoria. He discovers her at the ruins of a house he accidentally demolished earlier. Artoria laments how others care for her while she feels like a burden. Seiichi hugs her from behind, comforting her and losing himself briefly in the moment. He remembers the ring of happiness he found in the chest earlier and slips it onto her finger, promising to always share happiness with her. Realizing the depth of his gesture, Artoria pushes him away and runs off again. Seiichi, left standing in shock, finally pieces it together. He's just proposed to her. While his monkey brain tries to process what happened, he decides that if this is what makes her happy, he's fine with it. The next morning, Artoria wakes up with her emotions all over the place. She avoids Seiichi and Saria during breakfast, leaving the monkey visibly annoyed. Saria, always cheerful, announces her plan to help the nun with the orphans. Seiichi decides to skip taking a new quest and focus on learning more about this strange world instead. He asks Gassel for information, who tells him that other countries have been summoning heroes to fight the resurrected demon lord. Gassel suggests Seiichi visit the royal library for more details. At the library, Seiichi dives into books about the demon lord. To his surprise, the stories make the demons look like villains, but there's a twist. Humans seem to be the real aggressors. It's a confusing mess of conflicting perspectives, leaving Seiichi unsure who's in the right. To make things more chaotic, every time he reads from a magic book, he gains hundreds of skills. It's both exciting and overwhelming for the monkey. After some time, his stomach growls like a furious beast, hunger strikes hard, and he knows it's time to find food. While wandering the streets, Seiichi stumbles upon a young girl painting. He buys a piece from her, but quickly gets distracted by the mouth-watering aroma of food. Like a cartoon character floating in the air, he follows the scent to a cozy little spot called Eid Cafe. Inside, he meets two friendly faces, Ron's the butler and Noah, the manager. They strike up a chat while Seiichi devours his meal. Meanwhile, Artoria, still drowning in confusion, aimlessly roams the streets until she bumps into Adriana. The elegant lady invites her for tea and gets straight to the point. Artoria is smitten with love. Artoria denies it, but Adriana lays down the facts. A man giving a woman a ring signifies eternal love. This revelation hits Artoria like a truck, and tears fill her eyes. She knows Seiichi loves Saria, but she secretly wishes he'd love her too. Adriana, always the problem solver, offers to help her win his heart. Back at Eid Cafe, Ranzi and Noah drop some world-shaking knowledge on Seiichi. In this world, giving a ring isn't just a romantic gesture, it's a vow of eternal love. Breaking that vow, it could lead to execution or, worse, the loss of a certain important male part. Seiichi panics, realizing he's technically already committed to Saria. Ranzi suggests he embrace the situation and consider loving both women, while Noah advises honesty and clarity. Seiichi thanks them, his mind racing as he heads to the church to find Saria. Before he can reach her, Artoria intercepts him and, without warning, presses her lips to his. Seiichi freezes, his internal alarm bells ringing loud. Artoria, her eyes brimming with tears, pours out her heart. She says she knows he loves Saria and the ring might not mean anything, but she loves him and only wants to stay by his side. Seiichi blushes, caught between his own confusion and not wanting to hurt her. Just as he's about to respond, the church doors burst open. Saria appears, her radiant smile lighting up the room. She tells Seiichi to accept Artoria, explaining that she understands love isn't something to monopolize. In this world, strong men naturally attract multiple partners, and Seiichi is undeniably the strongest of them all. Seiichi stammers, unsure what to do, but Saria's words move him. She reveals that she loves Artoria too and wants them all to be together. Seiichi, overwhelmed but touched, embraces Artoria and seals her feelings with a kiss. Saria cheers, and the whole church erupts in celebration. It's as if an impromptu wedding just took place, with everyone congratulating them on their newfound love and unity. Seiichi was lost in his wild imagination about managing two beautiful, curvy wives when Gassel interrupted with a serious recommendation: every high-ranking adventurer needs a horse. Without much thought, Seiichi made his way to the local stables. Upon arrival, the stable owner brought up the Royal Cup, an intense obstacle course race with big rewards. Seiichi, however, had no interest in racing. He just needed a horse. That's when the chaos began. The stable manager showed Seiichi a terrifyingly ugly horse that looked more like a dragon. No way that thing was coming home with him. The next option wasn't any better. A fragile horse that literally dropped dead after a light tap. Things got worse when the last option, a fiery and aggressive donkey, tried to ninja kick the manager straight out of the barn. Suddenly, Seiichi gained the magical ability to understand the donkey's language. Determined to tame the beast, he walked up to her. She launched a kick that could send someone into the afterlife, but Seiichi caught her leg mid-air. The donkey, stunned by his strength, instantly accepted him as her master. Her name was Lulon, and Seiichi couldn't help but wonder if his life was about to spiral into another absurd animal relationship. After all, he'd already charmed a gorilla. What was next? A donkey. Seiichi and Lulon strolled through the city, snacking on treats. A boy named Clay, Duke Burger's son, was scolding a painter named May. Despite his harsh tone, Clay admired her work and wanted her to enter the prestigious Chesty painting competition, the biggest art contest in the kingdom. May hesitated, but Clay was determined to see her participate. To motivate her, he declared that if Seiichi placed in the top 5 of the Royal Cup, May would have to enter the contest. Clay also promised Seiichi a reward for competing, a rare fish called tambuli. On race day, Lulon was more fired up than ever. She wasn't just racing for Seiichi, she had her eyes on that tambuli. The stakes were high. Second place offered photos of Valkyrie Captain Louise, while first place came with the chance to spend an entire day with the Valkyries. The course itself was a free-for-all. Magic, traps, and fighting were all fair game. It was like a real-life version of the Dark Tournament from Yu Yu Hakusho, or a chaotic PlayStation 2 downhill race. When the race began, Lulon started slower than a snail on a lazy day. It turned out she'd skipped breakfast, so Seiichi handed her a fruit of evolution. Instantly, Lulon transformed into a speed demon, zipping past competitors like Sonic on an energy drink. The leading racer, however, hit trouble when a pack of A-rank and B-rank monster wolves blocked the path. Lulon, now supercharged, barreled through the wolves like they were cardboard cutouts. The other racers, witnessing this terrifying display, decided it wasn't worth the risk and dropped out faster than Team Rocket blasting off. Unaware that they were the only ones left in the race, Seiichi and Lulon cruised to the finish line. As they crossed, Lulon grumbled about missing out on more tambuli. Then something unexpected happened. Lulon hugged Seiichi, glowing with a bright, radiant light. Her form began to change, and when the glow faded, there stood a stunning, human-like woman with a sweet smile and curves that could make anyone blush. Before Seiichi could process what was happening, his 2 wives barged in. Both of them froze in shock at the sight of Seiichi with yet another beautiful woman. Lulon's transformation marked the beginning of yet another chaotic chapter in Seiichi's unpredictable life. Artoria's jaw drops to the floor in disbelief, but not as hard as her fist drops on Seiichi's jaw, sending him reeling. She's not buying the ridiculous story about the fruit of evolution magically turning Lulon into a gorgeous human-like girl. Saria, always full of surprises, decides to prove the point by transforming into a pink gorilla right there in the room. That doesn't help Artoria's confusion, but she eventually throws her hands up and decides to take Lulon shopping for clothes. At the store, things get even crazier. Valkyries Claudia and Lorna storm in and slap magical handcuffs on Seiichi, dragging him off like it's an impromptu kidnapping from some anime he wished he wasn't starring in. Artoria barely has time to question what's going on before they disappear into the distance. Meanwhile, far away in the dark, ominous lair of the Demon Lord's army, a dramatic meeting unfolds. Leia gathers her captains, a quirky bunch with names that sound like they were generated for a JRPG: Zola, Celos, Jade, Eurus, Letta, and Lucia, the Demon Lord's own daughter. It's like a villainous family reunion with a side of chaos. Leia shocks the room by suggesting an alliance with the Kingdom of Wimberg. Kree, the ever-skeptical captain, protests immediately, reminding everyone that humans are the ones who sealed away the Demon Lord in the first place. Leia insists they can't live in the past and need to move forward, sparking a heated debate that feels straight out of Danganronpa. In the end, the captains reluctantly swear their loyalty to Leia, though Kree's side-eye screams betrayal plans in the works. Back at the royal castle, the Valkyries fulfill Seiichi's prize for winning the Royal Cup, a full day with them. It's not as thrilling as it sounds, or so Seiichi thinks until Louise, the captain, starts showing off her sword skills. She moves like a protagonist from Sword Art Online, but looks stunning enough to make Seiichi's harem radar ping like crazy. She challenges Seiichi to a mock battle, and despite his hesitation, they grab wooden swords and get to it. Seiichi tries to hold back, but his overpowered abilities kick in, leaving Louise defeated in no time. The other Valkyries stare in shock. Louise, their undefeated leader, has lost. To make things even more dramatic, Louise kneels before Seiichi and asks him to be her master. Seiichi's brain is fried. Another potential harem member? Of course. At this rate, he's considering opening a club. Later, Seiichi finds himself sipping tea with Claudia when Louise walks in. She opens up about her lonely life as a swordswoman, always at the top, but without any real friends. Claudia tears up at Louise's heartfelt confession, and the 2 Valkyries share a touching hug. Seiichi just sits there like a log of wood with a wood to share, if you get what I mean. Just when the moment starts to feel warm and cozy, a maid bursts into the room, screaming that someone has attacked the king. The Valkyries leap into action, ready for battle. Louise tells Seiichi to stay out of it, insisting it's castle business, not something an adventurer should meddle in. But Seiichi, being Seiichi, activates his world vision skill to scan for the attacker. Seiichi quickly figures out the girl's name is Oliga, with some impressive but amateur kunai skills. She tries to escape after her attack, but slips off the roof, landing right in front of him. Despite her attempts to fight back, Seiichi easily disarms her and knocks her out when she lunges with her kunai. Moments later, the Valkyries arrive, and Seiichi hands Oliga over, revealing she's the one behind the attack on the king. Louise puts Lorna in charge of questioning Oliga, especially since the weapon she used was cursed with eternal slumber. Basically, the king's taking the world's deepest nap. Seiichi, ever the problem solver, decides to step in. He insists on seeing the king, and Louise reluctantly takes him to the royal chambers, where he discovers the unconscious king is none other than Ranze. While processing the situation, Louise introduces Seiichi to her brother, Florio, who heads the magic division. Seiichi knows he's got immense magical power but isn't quite sure how to control it. Throwing caution to the wind, he improvises. He places his hands on the king's chest and mentally chants, "Get better," over and over again. It's awkward and borderline embarrassing, but somehow it works. He manages to create a charm that breaks the curse, waking King Ranze from his enchanted slumber. Groggy but grateful, Ranze promises Seiichi any reward he desires. Meanwhile, in the Kaiser Empire, tensions are brewing. Zekia has a heated discussion with Emperor Sheldwool Kaiser, demanding answers about the missing human students. The Emperor drops a bombshell. They've all been enslaved and shipped to Barbados Academy, a nightmare of a school where survival isn't guaranteed. Kenji and Kazuki, two of the students stuck there, are trying to make sense of their predicament. They're soon approached by Togu and Kishi, two intimidating classmates who mock them for thinking they can master magic and become the strongest. Back at the royal castle, the Valkyries unwind in a luxurious bath, while Loret can't stop marveling at Seiichi's noble request to the king. Instead of riches or fame, Seiichi asks to train in both magic and swordsmanship alongside Louise and the others. His humility and ambition leave everyone impressed. Over in the Kaiser Empire, Zekia is still fuming about the students' enslavement. The Emperor's advisor, Helio, reveals the students are restrained with slave bracelets that prevent rebellion. Before the conversation can continue, an arrow crashes through the one in the window. Zekia destroys it mid-air and sprints off to find the assailant, leaving the Emperor to speculate that the attacker might be a demon. Helio adds fuel to the fire, suggesting that King Ranze of Vimberg could be aligning with demons. The Emperor sees this as treason, especially since his ultimate goal is to wipe out the demons entirely. Back in Vimberg, Seiichi's companions, Saria, Artoria, and Lulon, are on the hunt for him. When they finally catch up, Seiichi is surprised, but Florio is absolutely floored. Learning about Seiichi's relationships leaves him in shock. Seiichi has Saria as his wife, Artoria as his girlfriend, Lulon as his loyal servant, and now Louise in his harem, considering him her master. Florio can't help but label Seiichi as a certified clapper, managing to juggle 4 stunning women, all of whom are smitten with him. Seiichi, meanwhile, is left like a log of wood. Again, Lorna's interrogation of Oliga isn't going as you'd expect. Instead of asking the usual questions, Lorna goes for something completely unexpected. A plate of mouth-watering pork that smells so good, it makes Oliga's stomach growl like a hungry beast. The scent is so tempting that even Rengoku would rise from the dead just for a bite. The torture of waiting for a taste is almost too much for Seiichi, who's not even the one starving. He steps in to stop it, and even Louise thinks Lorna might have crossed a line. Eventually, they give the dish to Oliga, who devours it in seconds. While she eats, Louise notices something strange, a slave collar around Oliga's neck. When Oliga tries to remove it, an electric shock zaps through her, revealing the dark magic controlling her every move. Back in the Kaiser Empire, the Emperor is absolutely furious. He learns that Oliga, his top assassin, failed to carry out her mission. Helio, the Emperor's advisor, tries to calm him down. He suggests that if Oliga doesn't finish the job, she'll take her own life in the forest, much like a character from a tragic tale. Meanwhile, Zekia, the Emperor's loyal follower, is having second thoughts. He's just met Shien, an archer who attacked the Emperor out of revenge. Shien's love was killed because of the Emperor's cruel decree to wipe out non-human species, and now Shien wants to see the Emperor pay. After a fight that looks like something out of a high-level RPG, Shien tells Zekia to stop being a puppet and disappears into the night, leaving Zekia to ponder his next move. Back at the royal castle, Seiichi is working hard to figure out how to remove Oliga's cursed collar. It's a tough challenge, like trying to crack a complex puzzle. Then, out of nowhere, Seiichi has an idea. He remembers Abraham Lincoln, the symbol of freedom, and suddenly, it clicks. He creates liberation magic. To make it work, he needs a statue of Lincoln, but it somehow breaks Oliga's collar and she's freed. Oliga cries tears of relief, sharing her heartbreaking story. She's a cat beast folk from the Kaiser Empire, and her people were enslaved. Only the children survived and were turned into cold-blooded killers. Her hands are stained with the blood of those she's killed on missions. but Seiichi assures her it's not her fault. It's the Kaiser Empire that's to blame. Saria suggests Oliga stay with them, and Seiichi agrees, thinking of her as the little sister he never had. But Oliga is afraid the Kaiser Empire will come after her. Seiichi, with his usual confident smirk, tells her not to worry. He's stronger than he looks. Oliga agrees to stay, and just like that, their group becomes even stronger. Back in the Kaiser Empire, Helio contacts Kree, and the two begin to plot their next move. They realize that the Demon Lord's daughter is planning to ally with King Ranzei, which could ruin their plans. To fight back, Kree summons a horde of monsters, preparing for the next part of their scheme. A few days later, Seiichi is training hard with Florio, improving his magic skills faster than anyone expected. He's getting better at controlling his powers, but things don't always go according to plan. His water balls are still as unpredictable as ever. Just when he's getting frustrated, Louise walks in with an important task. There's been a huge increase in monster attacks all over the kingdom, and the Black Paladin's army isn't enough to handle it. Louise has to leave to lead the Valkyries into battle, and she wants Seiichi to protect King Ranzei while she's gone. It's a big responsibility, but Seiichi is ready for it. A week later, Aris and Gusail arrive at the royal castle, bringing along the legendary holy mage Barnabas, who is considered the greatest magician of all time. Think of him as Dumbledore, but with way more style. When Florio sees Barnabas, he becomes an instant fan, practically fangirling as he talks about his admiration for the mage. Seiichi, on the other hand, has no clue who Barnabas is, being from another world and all. Florio pulls out a limited edition fan book that's been sold out for years. The fact that such a book exists proves that Barnabas has a massive fan base. The mage, Barnabas, recognizes Florio's potential and praises him for being a promising magician. When they finally meet King Ranzei, Barnabas greets everyone as if he's known them all for years. Turns out, Barnabas was once the king's teacher, and now he's here on business. He's the principal of Barbador Magic Academy, and he brings urgent news. Ever since the Emperor of Kaiser brought his summoned heroes from another world, things have been spiraling into chaos. This worries Seiichi, who starts thinking deeply about the situation. Just then, a knight rushes in with a report. A horde of boss-level monsters has appeared in the neighboring forest and is now attacking a city. The Valkyries are nowhere to be found, and the city is defenseless. Meanwhile, far from the royal castle, Louise and the Valkyries are preparing for battle. Swords drawn, they charge at the monsters, looking like something straight out of Bleach. Just when it seems like they're about to make a huge impact, Claudia brings terrible news. Another capital is being invaded by an even bigger wave of monsters. Kree, the mastermind behind all of this, smiles sinisterly, thinking that Tibere is about to fall apart like a Jenga tower in an earthquake. However, he doesn't realize that the capital still has a secret weapon, a master warrior. Back in Tibere, Seiichi, along with the king's knights and adventurers, is getting ready to defend the city from the monster invasion. Gusail leads the charge in the first wave, and, surprisingly, he's stronger than anyone expected. The adventurers follow his lead, working in sync as they fight back the monsters. As things get intense, the guards at the gate join the battle too. The three guys who wanted to make Seiichi behind a canvas for their art are also there, and they waste no time getting their hands on the backside of a monster. Barnabas, meanwhile, begins to work his magic, instructing Seiichi to hang back and observe. Bual and Eyes, two of the strongest adventurers, are destroying monsters with ease, like it's nothing. Even the knights are impressed, with one of them revealing that he's actually Noah, a former hero. Seiichi's girls too dive into the action, with Oliga showing off her skills by taking down hundreds of monsters in seconds. She's proving herself to be a powerhouse, much to Seiichi's pride. As the battle intensifies, Barnabas, who had been dozing off through most of the chaos, wakes up just in time to see Artoria casting a powerful freezing spell. Barnabas starts casting his own spells, wiping out almost all of the remaining monsters with ease. Just as they think they've won, a report comes in. Another wave of giant boss-level monsters is on its way. Seiichi, deep in thought, knows that the real battle is just beginning. With the new horde of monsters coming, everyone prepares for the fight of their lives. It's clear that this battle is going to be a tough one, but with everyone ready to go all out, there's a sense of determination in the air. The battle against the monsters had reached its peak. The creatures were overwhelming in number, and even Barnabas, the mighty mage, had never seen so many R-ranked demons gathered in one place. The warriors, exhausted from hours of fighting, were growing weaker with each passing moment. Their attacks were losing their strength, punches didn't land as hard, and their swings were less effective. Saria's massive gorilla-like arms were shaking. Artoria's powerful strikes had lost their usual force, and Gusail's muscles were sore from all the combat. Seiichi, standing at the front lines, was deep in thought, trying to come up with a spell powerful enough to wipe out this massive army. It had to be something monumental, something that would make even Beerus's Hakai or Golden Frieza's beam look like child's play. Then, like a flash of inspiration, an idea hit him, an ultimate spell that could end this battle once and for all. With a grin, he shouted, "He had it!" a spell so powerful it would make the monsters wish they never crossed paths with Tabert. Seiichi, already wearing his low-budget shadow robe, began envisioning something truly grand, a spell that would strike from the heavens and decimate the enemy. He imagined a giant statue, like the ones in front of courthouses, holding a scale of judgment. He called it Judgment. The statue extended its sword toward the battlefield. Lightning bolts like those thrown by Zeus started raining down from the sky, striking the monsters with terrifying precision. The storm of lightning didn't stop, and within moments, all the monsters were wiped out. Only Gusel and the receptionist were affected, as the spell was designed to strike anyone Seiichi deemed harmful. Unfortunately, they were caught in the blast, but the rest of the group was unharmed, much to their relief. The girls were especially impressed, struck by the sheer power of Seiichi's spell. Kree, however, was horrified. Someone had single-handedly wiped out his army of demons, and to make matters worse, the judgment spell had even hit him wherever he was hiding. His plans were falling apart faster than he could handle. As Seiichi leveled up from his victory, the voice announcing his new power sounded unusually polite. Maybe the system was starting to develop a soft spot for him. His wives ran to congratulate him, each of them eager to show their admiration, while Oliga, ever the playful one, just wanted him to pet her head. Even Barnabas, clearly impressed by Seiichi's abilities, asked for a head pat, but then quickly shifted gears. He was astounded that Seiichi could pull off such a high-level spell. The mage, always looking for talent, asked if Seiichi would consider coming to teach at Barbador Magic Academy. Saichi, flustered and not wanting to leave his wives and sisters behind, hesitated. But Barnabas wasn't done. He offered Artoria a teaching position, Saria a spot as a student, and even suggested that the donkey girl known for her top-tier taekwondo skills could join either as a teacher or student. Oliga could even assist Barnabas. After a bit of persuasion, Seiichi and the girls agreed to head to the academy. In the meantime, Seiichi took the opportunity to spend quality time with his girls. He went on individual dates with them, making sure each one felt special. He took the food-loving donkey girl on a food tour, enjoying the best dishes the city had to offer. For Artoria, he planned a romantic date to a play, though Artoria couldn't resist putting her melons on him all day. When it was Saria's turn, she insisted on bringing Oliga along, treating her like the little sister she had become. In a rare moment of romance, Seiichi thanked Saria for her love, confessing his feelings. One day, as they wandered through the city, they came across a painting competition. To Seiichi's surprise, two familiar faces were participating. Clay presented a painting titled Flames of a Matchstick, leaving everyone to interpret it in their own way. However, Mei stole the show with a painting of Seiichi riding Lulon in a race. Don't get the wrong idea. This wasn't that kind of riding. She declared Seiichi her hero, and despite Clay's grandfather being the judge, Mei took first place. She was even offered a chance to study painting in the City of Art, Amira. The next day, Louise and the Valkyries returned to Tabert, and Seiichi, along with his girls, prepared to leave for Barbador Academy. Meanwhile, Kree, licking his wounds from the lightning strike, was furious. His resurrection ritual had been delayed, and he needed more despair and chaos to revive his dark deity. He decided that Barbador Academy, filled with royal children, would be the perfect place to harvest that despair. At the academy, Kazuki couldn't stop thinking about Ari, the girl who had once asked about Seiichi, the hero who had saved her life. Back in Tabert, the city gathered to bid farewell to their hero as he prepared for his next adventure. As Seiichi and his group traveled toward Barbador Academy, they encountered a new character, Gargon of Certain Victory, who claimed to be a hero of justice. And that's all for this video. I hope you liked it. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button, and also don't forget to jingle that bell, so you'll always get notifications on the next video.